Hi friends and welcome back to my channel and a Sims 4 speed build. Now it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these and it's not for my legacy challenge and it's not from any of my books. This is just a random house that I was inspired to build one evening when I was sitting in my living room listening to my entire family shouting at football. What we're building today is actually a tiny house. We end up using, I think it's 98 of the 100 tiles for the third level of the tiny home residential lot types. This is actually a small pink house for a gardener. It will sleep 2 Sims, and like I said, it is definitely for a plant lover or a gardener. At the moment, I'm just here playing with the roofing, the shape of the house. I did spend quite a few minutes trying to do this because I didn't really know what I wanted the house to look like until I was kind of at this point. I always knew I wanted it to be pink for a gardener and to just be this kind of really cute, like not quite a cottage, but sort of with those cottagey vibes. I do a lot of fiddling around with, especially like the back door placement and trying to get everything in, mostly because I wasn't sure where I wanted everything to go. And so it's here where I've got the stairs and I'm trying to get everything sorted. You can see me just changing the roof there. I liked the way it flowed a little better with the bump out that's there on the side, which is actually where the kitchen goes. And you'll see me start to place that furniture down in a minute. So like I said, this one isn't really from any of my books. This is a completely random house. And this is a kind of houses I do like to build if I'm not building something specific. It's sometimes a little bit easier to just build from my imagination if I've got a general idea in. Like I knew I wanted this to be pink and I wanted there to be plants, which would be the pops of colour. So I'm putting the windows on now. These are the windows from Snowy Escape. I really love these windows. I think they're just so versatile. They're so perfect and they're cheap too. I don't think they cost very much. I think they're about maybe, it's like 50 or something simoleons. So they're quite accessible even if you're doing a cheap house. This house doesn't end up being hugely expensive, but it's not a starter home. I think it comes in at around 46,000 in the end. So it's kind of a mid of a range home. So if you've got a sim who's starting out in a starter home and then needs to sort of upgrade as a single sim or as a couple, this is the perfect kind of house, you know, when you've had a bit of gameplay under your belt. You will see in the screenshots at the end that I do change a couple of things. For example, when I went in to take the screenshots in the game, just when I was editing, I realised that I hadn't put in lights and I'd missed a couple of things on the walls I would have wanted to fill. You saw me there just lay out all of the sofas. I had such a hard time choosing the right shade of pink for the sofas, mostly because there are so many different shades in the game. Some of them are cooler, some of them are warmer. And as you can see, we're really leaning into like this pastel Barbie-ish kind of pink. And so I needed the sofa to reflect that. And honestly, I just really love that paranormal sofa. I think the detail on it is great and it makes me really, really miss the stuff packs, like I'm sure it does everyone else. I'm fidgeting here, and as you can see, I've just added in that wall there, which really gave a little entryway and a bit of separation there for the living room, which meant that I didn't have to box the sofa in the way I thought I might have to originally. And I do a lot of fidgeting with this space, trying to fit stuff in. And I'm adding the curtains. Those, I think, from the Desert Luxe kit. I really love those with the little piece that you can add for the the curtain rail. That, oh my gosh, that's the one, the curtain rail. I'm adding a lot of these plants, as you can see, from pretty much all the packs because I loved how versatile they were, how different they were. And the nifty knitting ones on the wall are just the cutest little things. And of course, by the fire, I had to add the fire tools because, you know, and I know that rug back there isn't specifically pink, but I really love like the floral detail on it. I thought the black was a really nice contrast. It just gives that really big pop in the living room that I think needed it. And like I said, the flowers and stuff, it really fit. As you see now, we're moving on to the kitchen dining area. I don't clutter this too much. I do add a couple of the chopping boards. And at the end, when I'm off camera, I do go in and I do add the little tea caddy set of the plants from the plant kit just above I think it's just above the sink, just because I realised I saw them when I was looking for another area in the house and I just thought it was the perfect spot. I'm adding all the vines and other things on here. This is a mixture of the vines from Cottage Living, I think from Get Together, and obviously the trellis here is from the high school pack. I really love that. I love that we got it in all 3 sizes because there's 2 versions. Obviously, one is a functional staircase and one is purely decorative. And I just think it just really adds something and makes it really sort of realistic because obviously Ivy grows up houses anyway. including mine, which is a bit of a nuisance because it can be quite disruptive and it's hard to get rid of. And but I love the trellis, especially when you put like the climbing flowers. The landscaping outside, I kept it to really basic. I kept the same trees, the cypress trees I used, and I kept the hydrangeas, the pink bush, the little yellow bush, and the pansies. I thought added a really nice little pop of yellowy colour along with the little yellow bush. So I think this is the only landscaping I use, as well as the pale low-lying flowers. Pale yellow low-lying flowers, I think they are. It's not the biggest back garden as far as things go. I think really, I really would have liked to have had one a little bit bigger, and maybe I should have perhaps used a bigger lot, but I really wanted to keep it on a small lot because otherwise it seems ridiculous if I know I'm going in to build a tiny home, like just have this massive lot and then I get really overwhelmed with landscaping. And so I did put this on the smallest lot deliberately. This is, as you can see, it is the Comfy Cubby lot in Newcrest. You can see going in here now, I'm adding a bit more of the clutter, a bit more of the necessities, fidgeting around with some of the outside decor because it was just creeping in through the walls as it tends to do. I love that little bag that came from the clutter kit. I think it's really cute and it's so versatile as well. The colours are great. Pictures there are from Tiny Living. And again, I love those as well. I love the fact that we got the 3 different ones. You got the little wreaths there, I think they're from Seasons. And I'm just adding some of the entryway clutter in here. I do take the plant down in a second, and I do put, I think, some shoes and an umbrella. I removed this big coat rack and put the umbrella rack in there. I tried to keep it small, and I think it was about this time I decided, I wanted to give him a cat. And I don't really quite know why I thought that. I need a little something else to fill the space, and I didn't want to put even more plants. And I just thought, a cat. So hey, if you've got a single sim or a couple who are sort of not quite starting out, but not quite, making a bunch of money, and a cat, great. If not, move them in, get a cat. I thought it might be a bit big for a dog. Or sorry, a bit too small for a dog. I wasn't sure, but I kind of like the cat area. Again, the bathroom is really small. It's really basic. It's just got the smallest sort of bits of clutter on it. But it is perfect for it. I did consider bringing it out one more tile. So there was just sort of the 1x2 section there with the stairs. But ultimately I decided that I needed somewhere to put the litter tray. I'm just changing the lights out here, getting rid of the big sources and putting the little ones in for the more permanent lighting. I do shrink them down using it looks like the bracket, but it's the flat one. That one. Yeah. I do shrink them down using that key so you can't see them. And I am hiding the litter tray behind that plant. It was quite effective, I thought, because you kind of can't see it from that angle. So it's like a good spot for it to sort of be. And I'm furnishing upstairs now with quite a lot of white. I thought it blended really nicely with the pink, and it broke it up a little bit. So we're adding in more plants here. The Dream Home Decorator side table, the hanging plant, which I'm obsessed with. Adding a mirror. The bedroom is one thing I do come back and add a few details to off camera at the end when I'm taking screenshots. I realised I had a space at the end of the bed for like a poo and I realised I'd left basically the wall, that big wall there, completely blank on the right side. So I do add, I think I add like there's plant shelves from the plant kit and a picture from the pastel pop kit. I'm moving outside now. You can see I've added my outdoor lighting. I'm just trying to figure out what furniture I want outside. I liked the bench, but I thought it was a bit too samey. And I thought the sofa there, I think it's the season sofa. It added it's still quite neutral, but it just added a little bit of something. I'm trying to figure out what patio I want. I changed it up quite a few times because I wasn't sure what worked, but this one from Base Game is always a bit of a safe bet. So I'm cluttering a little bit of flower arranging station because this is obviously for a gardener. I've got Patchy there in the corner because he helps with gardening and he gives you seeds and he's really handy. And I love that he comes in pink as well. I think that's such a nice little touch. And so I'm adding in all the small pots, and this is just a bit of faffing about, trying to figure it all out to make sure that everything's accessible. I keep the bees, I think it is. Yep, I put the bees in the corner. I get rid of that other planter because really there's enough. Now they should all be accessible. I didn't have any problems when I play tested it with my sim before I did this voiceover, but there's always, when you put it down, there's always a reason this is a Sims, stuff breaks. We're putting the terrain paint on here now. It's just quite simple. It's just a bit of shading and then a small path that you can see I'm blending in to make a bit more, sort of natural. So it looks like it's been walked over a few times. And then I'm using the flowered ones to just sort of dot around the barer spaces of it. We put the bonsai tree in here. We switch those two around. So you've got a few really good skill building items in here as well. And then it's just decor, gardening bits and bobs. You can see I sort of snuck a little rabbit in there. We've got the picnic basket. And these are just some stones I found in the sort of, I think they're a debug or they're a live edit object. As you can see, I do use Twisted Mexies mod Better Build By, so I can access all of the debug stuff quite a little bit easier because otherwise it takes forever. And so I'm pretty sure that's how I was able to find them so easy because I've never really seen them before. We are getting close to the end now, and I'm just adding the final details to the exterior of the house. I'm adding a chimney there to fill that big space because I didn't want to put a window there because I know I had decor. I'm putting these on. I'm going to move into screenshots. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye!